You've reached Mitz from Level Up Bassin. Let me show you how to go from this and this to this. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Mitz and it's Level Up Bassin. This is a good project for today, is to eliminate a wiring issue I have. This is my bass boat that I've been fishing in for 100 years, it feels like. It's a 2004 Tracker Avalanche. And currently the way it's wired is I have a main cranking battery that I also have my accessories on. So now when I'm fishing tournaments and I'm getting out there and the battery gets to a certain drawdown, I'm noticing that the front live active target, the fish finder, and just some of the other glitchy stuff, things start flickering, and I've swapped out the battery. It's not the charge, it's some of the original wiring. So plan of attack is to take this guy right here, this Ogrphy. It's a 12 volt, 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. It is an incredible deal on Amazon right now. I will link that below. I then have a new fuse block that I'm going to put in, and this battery wired directly to the fuse panel. And then we'll also follow that to a cutoff switch, which will give me a master disconnect. So then when I'm charging or when I'm working on anything, it is always best practice to kill all power to it. You don't want to ground out this stuff. It's too expensive. I'd like to keep everything as good as you can and keep it running. Outside of that, then I have basically, I needed to top off the lithium battery before I throw it into the mix. And this is just a quick 20 amp single battery charger that I use on my tech bench, and it's been working great. And then the last is a quick little voltage meter, which if I get time, I'll throw that in the mix. Just a nice way to kind of monitor the battery real time. So the next plan of attack for me is I'll show you around the boat, I'll show you where my batteries are, and then I'm gonna start doing some wiring. So the next part of this is to show you where I'll be working. Basically on my 2004 Tracker Avalanche, I have a ridiculous amount of storage. Currently behind the driver's seat, there is a compartment right here, which has a bin in it. And as soon as I take that bin out, here is what I'm working on. This is the battery compartment. I have my cranking battery in there. I have everything wired, and the goal is to clean that up. I'd like to actually take everything off that battery. I'm going to wire it up like I was talking about. I'm going to create a centralized little area to mount everything to, and then I'll have a second battery in this compartment that is controlling the electronics completely. So here's a quick introduction to the Ogrphy 12 volt 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. The group over there at Ogrphy was nice enough to send this battery over so I can install this and get my problems resolved. I was very impressed with the team that I worked with there through email communication. They were right on top of everything. When the battery arrived, I was very happy to see that it was packed in this foam, which is extremely dense and durable. If your package takes a bump or a bruise, this battery's not going to feel it. So what comes in the package, I already put in the terminal ends, but it comes with these nice plastic caps inside the terminal end for shipping so that nothing's going to affect those terminals by any chance. You then have the caps for positive and negative that can then go over the terminals to protect them even further when they're in the boat, so nothing will drop on them or hit them or short them out. You have the product brochure to highlight some of the other Ogrphy stuff, as well as the product manual that it goes into some pretty good information. Definitely lets you know about the different capacities and where they're at. So now it comes to mapping out the project. I actually have this, basically a really thick plastic that I acquired from another project of mine. I'm going to use this as a mounting board. My plan of attack is to have this guy with the fuse block right on it, the hard disconnect. I'll actually use some heavy gauge tinned wire, which is very important to use in a bass boat or a marine environment, to go from the battery to the panel, to the disconnect, and then I have some little bit lighter gauge, but I believe it is 10 gauge that I'll be running to the electronics and to the additional accessories. So we'll get to work on that. Another quick point and some tools I wanted to show you is basically when making battery cables, the most important thing is the connection. If you do not have these ends on properly and the cable is wiggling around inside, you will short out equipment, you will deal with bad connectivity issues. So basically crimping these guys onto some clean wire with some heat shrink over them, you have a couple of options. One option is basically this guy right here, which is pretty simple. Get the fitting, lift it up, throw the fitting inside, slide the wire in, take a hammer, smash it. It does a great job. It presses that casing down right to the wire nice and tight. Pretty simple. Next option you have is basically a giant set of crimpers where they have the head unit here that you can rotate to the size, and when you squeeze it, it puts a ton of pressure on there and does a great job crimping. Lastly is my favorite. This is the one that has been the best. This guy right here is a hydraulic crimping set. It comes with all the ends, and basically once you turn it on and you start to crank it, you are putting a ton of pressure on this fitting and crunching it down so that it's locked into that cable and it's not going anywhere. This is my preferred measure when I have the ability to use it, so I definitely recommend it. I will link to all of these so you can actually make your own decisions. There's plenty of videos on them, but just wanted to show you all three. I'm at the point now where I have the dry fit done. The battery is connected to the terminator switch. The terminator switch is connected to the positive of the fuse block. The negative is direct to the battery. Earlier in the video I might have flip-flopped these two, but you definitely want the battery shut off first before your fuse panel. That way anything coming from the battery is shut off, and I'll correct that earlier in the video. But right now the battery cutoff is in the off. If I take my voltmeter and just double check my work, there is nothing coming through to this panel right now to main leads. And obviously with a flip of the switch, I now can come back to the panel, do a quick test, and I'm reading my 13.38. So everything is lined up, is working, and is live. So now I can take this and migrate it to the boat, and we can start moving connections over to it. So the wiring's done. I was able to get the Ogrphy lithium iron phosphate 12 volt 100 amp hour battery in place. All new wires go to my battery cutoff switch, which then goes to my fuse block, and now my electronics at the front have a dedicated clean power source. This should eliminate pretty much all that problem I was having before. Screen flickers, even the colors were light and transitioning in and out. Actually, I'll be on the water tomorrow, and I have some before and after video, which I'll post. So in the before footage, you'll notice the image is about 2/3 of the screen, and the after, it is the full screen.